Hey everybody, Mike Gillaspia here. Thanks so much for watching us on 3 News Plus. We certainly appreciate you taking the time to do that. And I am joined once again with the CEO of the Port of Corpus Christi, Kent Britton. Kent, thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely, Mike. Always glad to be here.
We like to talk every now and then because you guys are moving at such a quick rate. If I don't talk to you once a month or once every other month, I miss a whole lot. And I'm not exaggerating about that. There's so much going on out there. I want to, as we record this, it is January. I want to talk about some exciting things that have already happened. But before we do that, I want to go back a little bit because I know some exciting things happened toward the end of the year for the port. So to set that up, I'm going to ask you this question first. For people who don't follow port data closely, what does it mean when you talk about tonnage? Because you guys are always talking about tonnage.
Sure.
What is that? Why does that matter?
Yeah, so, we operate like a traditional business, but we're not a for-profit business, right? So any excess profit or any excess cash that we generate just gets plowed right back into the infrastructure of the port. Mm-hmm. And so we go build new stuff, right? Whether it's work on the ship channel, build new docks and warehouses, or those kind of things. And so I don't talk much about profitability. We don't issue a press release about profitability, even though from a business perspective, that's how we think about it, right? We try to be as efficient as possible because we're taking fees from our customers. And so we want to get the most out of that money. And so we control our head count, we control our spending. We're required by law to do procurement in a certain way, which I think is a little more expensive than a private company actually would do it, but it's the law, and so we follow that to the letter of the law. And so what we do talk about though is tonnage, and so that is a measure of how much volume moves through the waterway. We try to turn everything into a ton, even though that's not necessarily how like the businesses that are operating really track it. Like we also talk about barrels a lot because a lot of the tonnage we move is in liquid energy, and so it's actually tracked in barrels. And so the customers who are thinking about it in barrels. Liquefied natural gas is potentially talked in volume terms instead of tonnage, and so, but we convert everything back to tonnage, and we have grown really almost by 3 times over the last 10, 11 years. We've gone from 75 million tons to, we got as high as 206 million tons last year. We're going to be a little lower than that this year, about 203.4 million tons, I believe. But the interesting thing down here compared to other ports in the state, and I'll try to get through this real quick because this is a little down in the weeds, is we get paid something on every ton that moves through the waterway. And it's a small surcharge. So if you think a barrel of oil right now is worth about $60 a barrel, we charge the customer 13 cents on each barrel. But we make our money by moving a lot of barrels through the waterway, in excess of 1 billion barrels the last 2 years. And so tonnage is important for us. It is how we generate our revenues. We don't. We have taxing authority, just like every other port in the state. We don't use it. Most ports in the state actually assess something on your property taxes.
Yeah.
We don't. It's a long story that goes all the way back to the 1930s, but we actually have the right to charge something on every ton that moves through the waterway, and so that's how we generate our fees.
So when you look at the numbers for the end of 2025, you said 206.
203.4 is where we're going to end up.
Is that what y'all were looking at going into the year? Were you surprised by that?
A little surprised. So I thought we might grow incrementally. We've really kind of flattened out now. So we had huge growth in 2019, 2020 as pipelines coming out of the Permian Basin were bringing crude oil to Corpus Christi. Those pipelines have now pretty much filled up. So we've kind of reached a plateau on crude oil until someone decides to build another pipeline to Corpus. And that'll all be just determined by how the market economics for the world, right? This isn't a Texas or even a U.S. type issue. This is based on world economics. If someone decides to build another pipeline here, then we'll see more significant growth in crude oil. But for now, it's incremental growth. Yeah. All of those pipelines have a little bit of room to grow, extra pumps, extra pressure, those kind of things that we may see in the future. Our growth story right now has really been around liquefied natural gas at the Cheniere plant. They say publicly all the time they're basically doubling in size out there. And so we saw the growth we expected in liquefied natural gas. What we didn't expect was the impact of tariffs on agricultural products. So agricultural shipments out of the port were down about 50%. Now, they're a small percentage of our total shipments. Crude oil, though, which is the predominance of our shipments out of the port, 65% of our volumes are crude oil, was down about 2.5%. And that is just solely based on the world economy moving and trying to figure out where that oil is really going to come from. There's a lot of political reasons for countries outside of the U.S. not to want as much U.S. oil as they were taking, kind of reduce their dependence on the U.S. There's a lot going on that Corpus and the customers that operate in Corpus, as big as they are, don't have any control over. So,
I think it's safe to say in a lot of areas, particularly at the port, politics, U.S. politics, world politics, really plays a big role in how you operate.
Absolutely. Yeah, the world economy is vast, and it's not even the big majors, right? Exxon, Chevron, Valero, these guys don't have any say so, right, in how that goes. And so oil, we're just kind of keeping an eye on. We're prepared to grow if needed. There is plenty of terminal and storage capacity here to move more crude oil. But the pipelines, as I said, are getting a little full. They're running at kind of 90% capacity unless somebody does an expansion project to put some more pumping and pressure on them.
Okay, so something to keep an eye on for sure as we're talking about the port. Let me switch to a different topic here, and we've touched on this a little before in our previous talks. You guys spent a year renovating the Ortiz Center. I mean, it was a long year.
Yeah, it turned out
you
great.
You did a lot of stuff there. Why was it important for the port to invest in modernizing that facility?
So the Ortiz Center is a really interesting facility. It's one of the original cotton warehouses in the port. It's got a long history, which is really cool. And if you go in there into the main ballroom, you can see the exposed brick, that was in the original warehouse. 26, 7, 8 years ago, it was converted into a conference and event center. It had not been updated since then. It's a little dated, but it's a community resource, right? Lots of people host weddings there, Christmas parties, various other events. We use it for our all-hands staff meetings. Just a great facility, but it was getting a little long in the tooth. Needed to be not only cleaned up, but modernized. And the total spend on it is probably going to be close to $20 million. And 2/3 of that are things that you can't see, right? So it's upgrades to the HVAC system. It used to be all on or all off. And so if you ever went to a commission meeting in there, you might have noticed that it was freezing. And that's because obviously it's got to be all on in the summer, and it was not easy to control, moderate. It had a lot of maintenance issues, and so we cleaned that up, also moved it up into the roof, which created space in the kitchen, because it had been in the kitchen, created space in the kitchen where we actually could expand the facility at some point in the future. We have room on the backside for a second ballroom, but never had the kitchen space. And so moving the HVAC did that. We also modernized the room that the Port Commission meetings are held in. We used to break down and set up that equipment every month, the dais, the staff tables, the chairs, all that stuff. Now the room is divided into sections. We've actually got a section where the dais and the staff table and all the audio visual that goes with it will just stay in place, and we'll just close that room off. That's going to save us. That's going to save us maintenance time and maintenance expense, because it's tough on equipment to break it down and tear it down every month.
And for people who may not know, the Port Commission meetings are broadcast live as they're happening, right?
They are. So similar to Nueces County Commissioners Court, the City Council meetings, the Port Commission meeting is broadcast live. You can go to our website, portofcc.com. Under the About tab, there's a commission section. If you go to Commission Agendas, when that meeting is ready to start, there's a link where you can hit that and catch the live video. And so we would like more people, frankly, to watch it. I think we do things that are important for the community. We talk about a lot of things that are important to the community. Sometimes, you and I have talked about this before, sometimes I'm not sure the community here in Corpus actually understands the importance of this port, not just to Corpus Christi, but to the region and to the state and to the world. When I go to Europe, for example, and you tell somebody in the shipping industry you're from the Port of Corpus Christi, everyone knows what the Port of Corpus Christi does. I'm not sure that's even true here in our own community, which is, it's, you go down there and you watch the ships come in and out. But understanding the economics of that and what that's driving and the jobs that it's bringing to this community is important, and watching the Port Commission meeting is a great way to do that. Another, just as long as we're talking about, we want people to see more of what we're doing. We do give tours of our executive administration building and talk about some of the history and what we do on the third Wednesday of every month.
And you just started that recently.
We
here
just
within the
started
last
those
few months,
middle of last year.
Yeah.
And it's been they've sold out so far, and so we take a small group. You get to ask a lot of questions. You get to see a big giant map of the port and kind of what we do and some of the historical things that we have around there, and understand a little bit more about the port. It's good for us. It's good for the community to all be open and transparent and talk about these things.
You mentioned the Port Commission, and by the way, I was watching the January meeting on video, and love the new space that they have. It's easy to watch, and it really looks good. So be sure and check that out. Another thing I think people don't understand fully: what is the relation of the Port Commission to you and all of the people who work at the port? I mean, who's
why? What have you heard?
Who's in charge here? I mean, how does that all work?
Yeah, so I work for the Port Commission as a whole.
Yeah.
So I don't work for any one commissioner. They have operating rules that are put in place about kind of the role of the commission and how they're supposed to interact with staff, and they mostly follow those. But they're supposed to provide guidance, oversight, strategic direction, those kind of things, and then they manage me. I'm their only employee.
Okay.
So I have a contract with the Port Commission. It's just traditionally been a 3-year contract. I'm in the last year of that this year. And then I manage everyone else. And so the staff at the port, which is about 270 people strong, all reports to me in one way or the other. And so, I interact with individual commissioners. I build a relationship with every individual commissioner, and I feel like I've done a pretty good job of that since I started in this role. But my reporting relationship is to the commission as a whole. It takes an action of the commission, a majority of the commission, to direct me to put things in motion for the port.
I think that explains it pretty well. And let's talk about the commission here, because I know in your tenure here, in fact, in your time working at the port and then as CEO, the makeup of that commission changes from year to year.
Yeah, sure.
You've had a big change this year in that you've added 2 new commissioners who the January meeting was their first meeting.
Sure.
How does that impact you and the work you do when every year you're looking at maybe some different faces there?
Sure. So not only added 2 new commissioners, and I'll talk about that specifically, but also added a new chairperson. So this will be my 3rd chairman since.
It's funny because in my notes it says I think this is the 3rd one, and I was counting back, and so I was right about that.
Right. So I came in right on the end of Charlie Zahn's tenure. He had been chairman for 8 years. David Engel, who was a city appointee, then did 2 years, but he was finishing up his 12-year term limit.
Yeah.
So they can serve 4 3-year terms, so they can serve up to 12 years in total. So David termed out at the end of 2025, so he was our chair for the last 2 years. And then yesterday, the commission, they go through an election process amongst themselves, and they elected Gabe Guerra, who's the CEO of Clayburgh Bank and is also a city appointee, to be the chair for 2026. Wes Hoskins will remain the vice chair. He was vice chair this past year also. And Rajan Ahuja, who's a city appointee. Wes is a St. Pat appointee. Rajan Ahuja, who's a city appointee, will be the secretary for this year. We have 2 new commissioners this year. So Michael Hunter replaced David Engel, who we mentioned termed out. And then Amanda Torres came from Nueces County and replaced Diane Gonzalez.
Okay. So you've got this new makeup. You've got a new chair. I mean, just between you and me, nobody else has to hear this.
Oh, I'm guessing some other people are going to hear this. So.
How does your role or job change with a new chair? I mean, these are different personalities. You've had 3 of them in there. They all have maybe different leadership styles, I would kind of guess.
All different leadership
and you got to have to adapt to that, don't you? And not in a negative way.
No. But interpersonal relationships and work relationships, boss to superior, are always, kind of a growing and evolving thing. And so Chairman Guerra and I will work to develop the same relationship that I had with Chairman Engel, because I did have a very collaborative relationship with Chairman Engel. I expect the exact same thing from Chairman Guerra, because he is a calm, steady kind of guy. And so, and we already work closely. He was on the audit committee, which covers a lot of the financial results and planning for the port. So I don't expect any issues there, but it is all, how formal or informal do I need to be
Sure, yeah.
with them? What is their focus going to be? How do they want to run the meetings? Because I need to play off of that as well.
Yeah.
Because staff, the meetings are run by the chairman, but how much do they want staff to present? On each item. How much discussion do they want? I mean, we'll figure that rhythm out as we go. And then you have two new commissioners, right?
Hunter
and Torres.
Yeah.
And, so they're learning about the port for the first time. Now, Hunter has served on big boards before because
Right.
he was on city council for quite a few years. And so understands the rules of order there and kind of how a big board like that in public operates. Commissioner Torres and I talked in depth on Friday, kind of going through each agenda item for this first month because she wanted to be prepared. So
Yeah.
It's different with each one. I'm honored to serve in this position, and I actually enjoy the relationship that I get to build with my commissioners.
Yeah, and it looks like a good group. One thing that just I'm curious about, because I don't guess I knew the answer to this. When somebody is elected chair, for example, do they stay chair until their term ends, or is that an every year they have to be reelected?
It's an every year occurrence.
Okay.
And there's always debate, right? Chairman Zahn had been in that role for 8 years. That was in the modern era, what I would consider the modern era, the last 40 years. That's probably the longest serving chairman we had. Chairman Engel only did 2 years. I think there's a case that could be made that should rotate every few years.
Yeah.
But that's up to them.
Okay.
I work for the commission, right? The big
They'll
the big
figure that
commission.
part out.
I don't get involved in those intra-commission politics.
Well, let me ask you one more question regarding the Port Commission. How would you describe this version of the port that this iteration of the commission is inheriting? I mean, when you look at it overall and they're walking in for the first time and saying, okay, we've got the port here, what are they getting?
Yeah, so we went through a real growth surge, whatever you want to call it, 10 years ago. But it was in the commodities that we were already comfortable dealing with, right? It was oil and gas primarily. I mean, Cheniere added liquefied natural gas, which was new, but again, it's still liquid energy. It's things that we were comfortable doing. I think what they're stepping into now is a need to further diversify, continue growing the existing business we have, but further diversify and talk about things like containers and shipbuilding and cruise ships and those kind of things. So I think they're stepping into a new period of growth for the port, but a little bit different because it may be things that we haven't really done before. And so we're going to have to figure that out as we go. We'll look to other ports who do that well to kind of see how they structure that. I think you and I have talked about before, there are kind of two models for ports. There's operating ports who run all of their own terminals. And so when you think Port of Houston, they make all their money from operating two big container terminals.
Yeah.
And then there are landlord ports. The largest container port in the U.S. is the Port of New York, New Jersey. They don't operate anything.
And you fall into which category?
We are primarily a landlord port.
Yeah.
And so we own land, we acquire land, we prepare that land. We often build the dock that goes off of that land, but then a customer comes in and leases that from us, pays us a rent, pays us a throughput on the materials they're moving through there, and we leave them alone, let them run their business. And so we have one terminal, the bulk terminal that we operate, but even that we're kind of looking at trying to find a long-term lease partner for that.
Let's look ahead a little bit here. What are the biggest projects or initiatives that the Port Authority is focusing on right now and into 2026?
Yes. Yeah, so if you so yesterday's commission meeting, we approved kind of an amendment to a study we're doing on the channel near the Inner Harbor, and that is to support a larger class of energy ships that could come in. They call them VLCCs, very large crude carriers. Would also support cruise ships. Would support the largest container ships. Because our channel, which was built a long time ago, right? And so there's not much we can do about the width of the channel. It was dredged out 60, 70, 80 years ago. It is what it is. But it's not wide enough to turn the largest class of ships, whether they be very large crude carriers, cruise ships, container ships, whatever else we're not thinking of yet. So what we're studying right now is, do we need to put another turning basin in outside of the width of the channel. So think somewhere out near the Lexington Museum, right? In the ship channel there, basically just a big bubble in the ship channel there, 1,700 feet across everywhere, where you could turn these largest classes of ships and then back them into the inner harbor with tugboats.
Yeah.
Not uncommon. We have 4 turning basins within the inner harbor for ships that are 1,000 feet or less in length, and in many cases you turn them at the one before you get to the dock and then back those up to those docks. So backing with the assistance of tugboats is not a big deal, and we've already simulated it with the pilot. So we added some money to a work order that we have out there right now to study that, because it'll require some realignment of the channel as it comes through the little gap there where the old harbor bridge used to be. If you ever look at a Google map looking straight down on where the old harbor bridge was, it really pinches down to 300 feet of width there, which is really small for a ship channel.
Well, so somebody watching right now says, wait a minute, I thought we just spent all these years deepening and widening the ship channel.
We did.
Are you telling me it's not enough?
No, it's so our biggest responsibility is being the non-federal sponsor for that ship channel, and so we are constantly looking at how we improve the ship channel. I have no issue spending money there.
Yeah.
We're also right now in the middle of a study to deepen and widen the La Quinta channel, which is the offshoot that goes past Ingleside on the Bay and Ingleside and then up to Portland. Stops just short of North Shore Country Club. That channel was not deepened and widened as part of the main project. So you have to have a financial justification to do that, but we're doing that study. We're also taking a look at between Ingleside and Port Aransas, are there some places where, for lack of a better term, we could put in a passing lane or something like that so that the bigger ships would be more comfortable passing each other.
So that's one project you're looking at. What are some other things maybe on the agenda for 2026 that you could tell us about?
Yeah, sure. So we also approved almost $8 million yesterday to add additional railroad tracks out at our Rincon extension, which is over on North Beach. And so it is the preeminent laydown yard for windmill components. But it also handles pipe, it could handle military, could do a lot of things. We've spent a lot of money over the last 10 years to grade all of that, put caliche down. It is the best place to bring in windmill components currently. The current federal administration is not all that favorable to windmill and to wind and solar energy, but similar to the drill baby drill, right? Big companies operate based on world economics, and these companies are still moving fast on windmill development and exploration in the western U.S. We're the best place to bring that in. Companies who bring those in, though, have asked us, they were like, we'd like to see this new area that you just developed last year also have railroad tracks like the old area had. And so we approved $8 million yesterday to put railroad tracks down there. We are in discussions with a couple of container terminal operators, and we might see an option agreement from one of the two of those this year to start actually spending some money on design and development of a container terminal on the south side of the inner harbor. Those are kind of the 3 big ones. The fourth one, which is going to take several years to develop, though, is development of a large rail yard out near Robstown. And so we're going to call that the inland port because it's not on the water. But we acquired 2,000 acres out there over the last 3 or 4 years. Sits at the junction, in between the junction of the Union Pacific line and the CPKC line that's coming out past the airport. It's a perfect place to start developing light industrial, rail-served business park, potentially support the container terminal as it goes there, and then also be a storage spot for trains that right now come into the inner harbor and start, we're getting congested from a rail perspective, so start blocking our access and making it harder to maintain the fluidity we have in our current rail network.
Yeah.
So between those kind of 4 things, it's going to be a busy 2026.
You've got some things to look at.
It will go. You know, I was telling somebody the other day. I mean, 2025 went by in a flash.
Yeah.
And when you talk about like the ribbon cutting on the channel and the ribbon cutting on the bridge, I mean, they feel like they were years ago.
Yeah.
And they were only 6 months ago. So, Yeah, there's a lot going. There's a lot going on now.
And that's kind of where we started here. Is things move at such a rapid pace there at the port. I mean, you're always either looking at something you've just completed or looking ahead to what's coming up. You mentioned something that I thought was interesting. You cannot always operate at the whim of what the federal government is looking at, because administrations change.
Sure.
And they may come in with different initiatives 4 years from now than they had 4 years ago or 8 years ago or whatever. You kind of have to keep an eye on the world, and that again speaks to the importance of our port.
So I appreciate you recognizing that. And yes, and things got even more complicated this past year. Texas redistricted their federal congressional district, so we went from having one congressional representative, which is Michael Cloud, to now having 3, and so, which is good.
Yeah.
Houston has 10.
Yeah.
And so when the Port of Houston needs something, right, they work with all 10 of those, and they have a bigger voice in Congress. Congressman Cloud spoke loudly, but it's hard to match 10 people that you can go to and work both sides of the aisle, Democrat and Republican. So so we try not to get too caught up in the changing complexity of the federal government. We need support from the federal government consistently in terms of grants and permitting and those kind of things. But we try to keep doing what's best for the coastal bend, create jobs here, bring industry here, create economic opportunity for our kids who are coming up. And then we'll work through. We have a great government affairs team that works with local, state, and federal authorities to figure that out and just adapt on the fly.
Well, that's really bottom line here is the stronger the port is, the stronger Corpus Christi and our region for sure is. And so, good economy is often tied to some of the things that are happening there at the port.
Absolutely.
And that really makes a difference, and that's why we keep an eye on that. So when you step back and look at everything from last year and here in 2026, infrastructure, leadership changes, tonnage, how would you sum up, just in a simple sentence, sum up the health of the port and where we're headed?
Condense my job into 60 seconds.
Do that if you could.
Just go back home. So great 2025. So it's actually going to be the first year in 8 years that we haven't grown. Now, last year we grew incrementally, call it 1%. This year we're going to be down just over 1%. I consider those flat. And so, as we mentioned, I think now we've kind of reached a level of stability with what we're doing, and until somebody wants to bring another pipeline down here, a lot of that's going to kind of stay static with the continued growth that's been announced by Cheniere. Now it's time to look at the next iteration of things. And so I think we are well positioned both from a leadership perspective. We got a great commission that's going to be supportive of staff. I've got great people in leadership roles on staff. We're well positioned to go chase that next generation of business for Corpus Christi, bring more jobs here to Corpus Christi, get involved with the colleges and the schools, the ISD schools, to continue to improve training. We give a lot of money back into the community. A lot of it's directed toward workforce development and education. I think the future is really bright here.
Right.
And I've been here, this is my 9th year now at the port, and it's been a fantastic ride. I mean, it truly is the highlight of my career, and I think going forward, though, I think it's even brighter.
All right. Kent, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. Always some great insight that you bring and that you share about the port, and I think that benefits the folks who are watching us. We're going to have to leave it for there, though, right now. But again, we do appreciate you and the work that's happening
I appreciate
out there.
you giving us the opportunity to come chat with you.
You bet, you bet. And thank you for watching. Stay safe. We'll see you again soon.